Hey all, so War 2 of Season 40 here, and this is my first time using in a real war this amazing team of Reed, Victor, Victor, which was honestly the main thing I wanted as soon as Infamous Iron Man came out. This team is just so good on all three facets of it. We saw basically the one way it can go wrong last war, but that shouldn't be a problem for any of our fights this time around. So against Thing, it's very important to note that I did not use the suppression pre-fight. We use Petrify, we use Debuff Siphoner, those are going to increase our attack and limit willpower healing as well as any regens that get through. Love when parries don't work. But we want to make sure that his combat power rate stays completely normal besides the Petrify Mastery, because we want to be able to control his rock stacks, and that means being able to push him to 15. So small mistake there, but thankfully I was able to fix it with a reparry. I should have landed one more hit before my special 2 to make sure he was evenly at 15. That was my mistake. But we are still doing okay here. We're fully expecting to trigger protection throughout this fight. That doesn't matter at all. Basically, whenever we crit, we know we're going to. The point is, get ramped, don't have to worry about the regen, and count rock stacks. Because as long as we do that, we are going to stay just moving forward, and that's all that matters. The other thing is that once we start building our careful study passives, Reed can obviously throw more special threes than most characters, and the way special threes interact with Thing's protection is that as long as it's on cooldown when you throw it, it does full damage and it just triggers protection after the special three. So because we know that, that's going to make it just that much easier for us to do damage, and we don't have to worry about timing out. So really important to land this heavy counter. I did not want to have to do that again. The timing on the debuffs there got a little bit tight, but still doing okay. And so as soon as protection goes on cooldown, we throw this special 3, and it is just going to do a ton of damage here. There we go. Now I'm fully expecting to trigger protection on literally every hit after this because the Fury is nice and big. But basically, as long as the rock stacks aren't too high, this also looks like it's probably not a max sig thing. We're just going to keep doing some damage, and the important thing is that he's not getting any willpower healing. That's what I care about. That's what makes this safe. One more special here. Unfortunately, that was probably supposed to be a dex and turned into a block. Boom. Alright, get him down before we lose the debuffs, thankfully, and we move right on. So not a quick fight, but Thing is basically put there as a path splitter, and he didn't split the path, so that's all we really care about. Moving on to Doom, this is Masochism, so we are going to lose our Petrify and our Suppression immediately. That is not going to matter because we're going to power start and we're going to get them back from our first special 2. The important thing is to have the House of X pre-fight here. Now, often if you're using a science character and you're trying to play around Masochism, you don't want the House of X pre-fight because it's going to cost you your primary way of putting Masochism on cooldown. The thing about Reed, though, is that as long as he hasn't built his careful study passives yet, then the opponent throwing specials will itself trigger Masochism. So we hit a couple times there. That's what we wanted. We wanted the ability to throw the special 2 with Masochism on cooldown and with him not in his aura. Because if we had thrown it the first chance we got, he would have gone unstoppable and we would have gotten smacked. But since that didn't happen, we now have the Petrify up, and as long as we keep it up, we're good to go. Now, ideally, we don't get hit again, but the important thing is we have the Petrify. That's going to keep him out of aura. That's going to allow us to throw this second special 2 here. And now, ideally, I ramp a third time and start reversing his stuff, but I really don't care. Because the important thing is I have now pretty much turned off Mystic Dispersion, and therefore the fight is under control. Obviously, getting hit with 2 heavies in a row, including the second one surprising the heck out of me, not awesome. Didn't appreciate that. But it's not the end of the world because Reed is tanky. Really annoyed by those unfazed procs, but it is on me that I didn't, basically didn't notice the first one on a deep enough level to not do it the second time. I guess obviously I noticed it, but I didn't internalize it. So that was fun. Thankfully no unfazed here. Note that the debuffs were eaten, but that doesn't matter. We're just hitting him, right? We're not going to crit. It's Doom. He's not getting any willpower because we already are ramped this much. We just need to hit him until he falls over. That's all there is to this fight. And there we go. So obviously took more damage than we should have because we got hit by 2 heavies. One of them was an input fail and one of them was just Doom being rude, and I didn't react fast enough. It is what it is. We use potions, we move on. So we have Knull on Masochism over time here, and Masochism over time in general is a pretty Doom-friendly node because we have that regen buff right there to feed Mystic Dispersion. Now notice I am playing this typical 4 strike counter, but now I start blocking extra because I just want to get to my special 3. I've not given him any Furies, and there we go. I only give him 1, and I throw my special 3. Notice how much Mystic Dispersion helped us there. We had 2 full procs of it, plus the power start left over from the last fight. That's what got us to the special 3 so cleanly without any Furies. And now we're basically going to Doom Cycle. It's going to give him 1 more Fury here, but that's okay, because we are going to parry, trigger Masochism, nullify it, get to our second bar of power, and throw a special 2 with the Fury up. That's the end of most fights, as often is the case with Doom. Alright, then we have this Punisher 2099 here. I went into this fight fully expecting to eat a special at some point. There are just so many hits in those, and Bubble Shield is annoying. Reed's evade chance is excellent, but it's not that high. I was just like, I'm gonna tank one of them somewhere in here. It is what it is. Anyway, the iDoom synergy is very clearly helping us here because there are no flourish up yet while we're still in our ramping process, which is incredibly helpful because they would have made it that much worse. Going ahead and throwing the special 1 here, not insisting on getting to the special 2, because I just wanted to control the flourishes. Remember, you can still throw heavies in Root as long as it's a 1-hit heavy and you don't need the follow-up to connect. That was very rude of him. I really thought that he was running into that special and then he just blocked. So that part did not go according to plan. But we are still doing okay here. Even if that special 2 had landed, it just would have completed that particular passive for careful study, and then we basically wouldn't have had to worry about special 2s anymore, which is very nice. Also remember that because combat power rate additions are additive in the same step, that's why he's still gaining so much power despite now 3 suppressions, because power focus is helping him out. We go ahead and control Bubble Shield there. We get rooted, that's fine. It just does not really matter to Reed because he has a 1-hit heavy, and as long as he can find heavy openings, he does not care if he's locked in place. One of the reasons that he's just so good for that node, he was good for Apocalypse, he's good for Punisher. Obviously it would be nice to heal less, but it is what it is. We move on to Bishop here on the updated Path 8. I think this is just purely a path split. He doesn't really have much synergy with the nodes, but that just means that there's not going to be much to it, because we have Infamous Iron Man, who is the best Doom counter in the entire game. We don't care if he throws a special 1. It is truly such a liberating feeling. We are just continuing to stack these energy vulnerabilities on him by applying those shocks. I clearly thought I was in aura there and was not. That's okay. We have enough energy vulnerabilities now that the special 2 actually does good damage, and then we just need to hit him a few times. Down he goes. He's really good at fighting Bishop. What else needs to be said? So we're going to go ahead and pop a War Refill here, move on to Venom. I'm going to be taking this with Reed. You could take this with Doom and rely on the Flourish to just basically chain special 3s. I personally am not terribly comfortable with that. It probably would have been fine. I know other people will do it, but with Rich Get Richer, I just decided to go with Reed because the Petrify is, of course, going to cut Rich Get Richer by 40%, and that made me pretty confident that I was going to be able to get to a special 1 and turn off Rich Get Richer. Now, honestly, I was a little surprised coming into this, because I thought that the iDoom synergy was going to stop his buffs, but apparently Venom rolls them too soon for that. So that wasn't ideal. But we managed to get the special 1 off there before he gets to 2 bars of power. We would have been fine if he threw it. He has no buffs amping him up, but still nice to not deal with it because that special is obnoxious. We knock him down again here, focusing on the Fate Seal. I'm just keeping the buffs under control. If I get to a special 2, cool. But, as often happens in these kind of fights, where buff control is important, I don't get to my my special 2 until we form the Careful Study passive, because then that boosts my combat power rate enough that it's just easier. Before then, we just focus on control. Reed is so good with this global, and there we go. Potentially very difficult fight in the bin. Moving on to Longshot, similar stuff here. I will call out both the the quote Mephisto ability that iDoom is giving Reed, and the Tranquilize that Reed gets from the global will be completely ineffective against Longshot because he has enhanced ability accuracy, and his ability accuracy can only be decreased by debuffs, but the enhanced ability accuracy is the important thing. Minus 100% just doesn't do anything to him. His buffs are going to trigger. Thankfully he's not tactic, but he's going to get them from feats of power. So we are just going to treat this as a vanilla Longshot fight on this node. We're going to rely on Petrify to blunt any Mystic Dispersion or ability power in Rich Get Richer, and we are going to race to the special 2 to try and shut it down almost completely. 80% is usually good enough. And there we go. He got a little bit of Mystic Dispersion there. You can also see we're out of karma on ourselves. I was just going to call out, Longshot can steal some of the power you get from powerbacks if he has any bad karma on you, but we had actually removed it for that special 2. So that part is nice. But we are now fully ramped. We're reversing Mystic Dispersion. Aspect of Evolution never really had a chance to come online. And we move right on. So next up we have Sasquatch here with Doom again. Took this in previous seasons. One time it went very well. One time it went very poorly, but was still a solo. Looking to make it more like the first time again here. This, of course, is a potentially dangerous fight because Sasquatch in Wrath of Tanarak can just chain special 3s. We know it's a possibility. We're not going to worry about it. That's what invulnerability boosts are for. And we are just going to try and go through our normal Doom stuff, get up to a special 3, use it to do big damage. We will, of course, be careful of the fact that Wrath of Tanarak can trigger at what feels like any moment, and can cause him to go stun immune right after the special 3. That is probably the best way to lose your invulnerability in this fight if you are not being careful. But as long as you're ready to play around it, it's not that bad. That's why I'm not going for the special 3 right here, and why I didn't go for the heavy there, because I was just like, I feel like Wrath of Tanarak is about to happen. And I was right. So we go ahead and throw the special 3 here, even though he's in Wrath. We know that this may send him red, but the important thing is to get the knockdown and hold on to the Petrify, because it's making the return policy part of the node that much easier. Thankfully, it doesn't quite send him red. We could have punished that heavy. We did not. Here we go. It is going to trigger Mystic Dispersion, but that's fine because then we immediately Power Steal. Note we get our special 1 off just in time to refresh those debuffs, and we should be good for another special 3 here. Come on, buddy. There we go. So this is the one where, even though, again, I'm expecting him to go into Wrath very soon, I am going to try and do some real damage here and eventually throw a special 2. I think, if I remember correctly, the way this fight went, the way it normally goes, is that because of those double vigilances off of the power steals, just the way that works out, yeah, I go right for another special 3 here, fully expecting it to take him red. Again, I do not care if he goes red. I know I can tank it. Doom can tank 1 even without the invulnerability boost. The trick is to not eat a bunch of them. And there we go. Steal a bunch of power. He's in Wrath. We do not care. We throw a special 2 with the double Fury. And that's the end of Sasquatch. That is about as good as that fight can possibly go. Really hoping if I take it again this season, I can focus on that. So what you're seeing here is not a freeze frame. That is a screenshot. I went right back in to take Mangog on 54 after 51 went down, and I wasn't really paying attention, and I forgot to record. Not very happy about that. It was the fight that cost me my Deathless season last season, and it went absolutely perfectly. Like, I destroyed it. It was so textbook. I was very proud of it. But that's okay. I do want to call out, since I don't have the footage, for anyone else taking that matchup this season, it is easier than normal. Because the Fate Seal and the Neutralize means you actually have to be less vigilant than usual with your special 1s, because you are getting extra buff control. You don't have to throw a bunch of special 1s in a row to keep the stagger up to keep him from going unblockable and unstoppable. As long as you are just hitting him, that is going to be enough, and that lets you get to the second special 2 that much earlier and get the fight that much under control, that much faster. Really, really good counter all the time. My death last season notwithstanding. Honestly, the biggest thing there was using the House of X pre-fight. That was a huge mistake because it cost me the Petrify Mastery. If that doesn't make sense, watch one of the older ones. I've talked about it there. But yeah, incredible matchup in general. Absolutely perfect this season. It went so well. Very happy about that. And that was my war. We did win this one fairly comfortably, but not going to rest on that because we definitely gave up too many deaths. As sometimes is the case for us, our first war was pretty clean, and our second one was not so much. We learned a few things about the tactic, we had people learn a few things about attackers they hadn't used before, and hopefully we can put most of that behind us and clean things up going forward. I guess this video is long enough that it's probably a good thing I lost that footage, but I will try and be a bit more careful for the rest of the season. And until next time, thank you all so much for watching, and take care.